and supplies. And I've been in constant contact with cell phone companies, urging action and offering them support. Well over 1,000 people have taken refuge in 24 shelters. People who need help finding shelter or other resources should call 211 or visit readync.gov. We've seen how during this hurricane, how successful our 911 backup systems have worked, as 911 calls are now being handled by counties not affected by the storm. I want to remind people to avoid calling 911, though, with non-emergency questions. More than 1,600 North Carolina Department of Transportation employees and contract crews are working to clear roads and get them open again. But travel in Western North Carolina remains limited and dangerous. 280 state-maintained roads are closed, including parts of Interstate 40 and Interstate 26. Please stay off Western North Carolina roads so that emergency responders, utility crews, and desperately needed supplies can get through. We don't need people visiting Western North Carolina viewing the damage. The State Emergency Response Team is working around the clock, and we are grateful for our local, state, and federal partners who are helping North Carolina in this time of need. We're seeing progress, but we know the need is great. Helene's impacts will continue, and people will continue to need our help. North Carolina is strong, and our first responders are the best in the country. I'm thankful for their hard work and for risking their lives to protect all North Carolinians. This is an unprecedented tragedy that requires an unprecedented response. We're hearing from many people who want to help, and we're grateful for that support. We're also activating the North Carolina Disaster Relief Fund, managed by the United Way of North Carolina. Later this afternoon, you'll be able to donate for Helene relief at nc.gov/donate. Today, I'm joined by Emergency Management Director Will Ray, our North Carolina Department of Transportation Secretary Joey Hopkins, Major General Todd Hunt, the Adjutant General of the North Carolina National Guard, Colonel Freddie Johnson, the Commander of the North Carolina Highway Patrol. We've got Cody Kinsley, our Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. Our American Sign Language interpreters are Brian Tipton and Karen Marion. Behind the scenes, our Spanish language interpreters are Jackie Mativier and Erica Kugler. We'll first hear from Emergency Management. Will?
Thank you, Governor Cooper, and good afternoon. Western North Carolina has experienced catastrophic and devastating damages, and the North Carolina State Emergency Response Team and our many partners continue to respond to the impacts and the need of our local jurisdictions. There are stories after stories of actions taken by our first responders to save lives and to overcome overwhelming situations. I want to remind all North Carolinians that conditions on the ground remain extremely dangerous, even as flooding has continued, and it will continue to recede. Roadways are damaged, there are downed power lines and unstable ground. There are still many rain-swollen rivers across the mountains, and it may take some time for the flooding to fully dissipate. We ask people not to venture into storm-affected areas, whether to check on property, loved ones, or just to sightsee. Besides endangering yourself, you could also be interfering with emergency responders or repair crews. Please let the professionals do their jobs. There are 31 county states of emergencies and 28 municipal states of emergency, with 24 shelters open with over 1,000 individuals being served. I wish to thank those working in our shelters to provide displaced North Carolinians with food, shelter, and access to critical resources. The work you are doing is vital to helping our residents. There are over 45 search and rescue teams engaged in the response from North Carolina and other states, such as Illinois, Indiana, Oklahoma, New York, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Delaware, Michigan, Alabama, Connecticut, and Wisconsin, as well as federal search and rescue assets. We have over 730 brave responders in this search and rescue effort, in addition to the hundreds of local first responders. These teams are supported by over 200 personnel providing communications, logistics, and planning support. These response teams are working around the clock to make rescues, to access neighborhoods, to assist communications partners with access to infrastructure, and to conduct welfare checks. As of today, there have been hundreds of rescues made. If you need rescue or have an emergency, please call 911. For general disaster information, you can also visit ncdps.gov/Helene. First, to keep phone lines open. If it's not an emergency and you need to report someone missing, or if you are requesting a welfare check, please call 211, select your preferred language, and then push option 1. Thank you to the United Way and to the 211 operators who are working around the clock to process an unprecedented number of calls. The North Carolina National Guard is actively engaged and have deployed 556 guardsmen and 195 vehicles for multiple missions, including high water vehicles to access communities, commodity delivery, and search and rescue. Our aviation assets are conducting search and rescue missions and facilitating the movement of commodities into the impacted communities. We would ask to allow for appropriate safety of aircraft. Individuals refrain from flying drones in the air. These could impede public safety and impede repair operations. The North Carolina Office of EMS is working with impacted counties to ensure that pre-hospital care and EMS systems are supported to provide life-saving emergency response. They've deployed ambulances, personnel, and are closely communicating with hospitals and licensed care facilities to ensure that fragile medical populations are moved to safe locations and cared for. There's been a federal public health emergency declared for North Carolina yesterday to assist in facilitating medical treatment within impacted communities and to remove barriers to quickly reestablishing sustained medical resources. North Carolina DHHS is also reminding North Carolinians in Western North Carolina that drinking water may not be safe to drink from municipal sources or well water. Flooding damages infrastructure and wells with contaminants. Only use bottled, boiled, or treated water for drinking, cooking, and personal hygiene in impacted areas. For more information, please visit your local health department's social media platforms or websites. Many people are understandably concerned about family or other loved ones that they cannot reach. There are still several areas where mobile and landline services remain degraded west of Interstate 77. I want to thank the telecommunications professionals that have been working around the clock to restore cell phone service and mobile data to the mountains. For those in Western North Carolina, we ask that you turn your phones off and turn them back on periodically to allow the phone to connect to a network. On Friday, our telecommunications partners activated disaster roaming on all networks. What this means is that any phone on any carrier can access any network to place calls. This is yet another example of the whole of community response across all sectors of government, the private sector, our nonprofits and volunteer agencies that are taking place. For those without phone service that can access the internet, you can activate Facebook Crisis Response on your profile to tell your contacts that you are okay. There are 280 roadways still closed and just over 500,000 power outages, down from, as you heard from the governor, over 1 million. Restoration operations are underway with crews from other states converging on North Carolina to assist. And I want to remind everyone that carbon monoxide is a concern when you are cooking on a grill or operating a generator for power. Please make sure you do these things away from your home, as carbon monoxide is a colorless and odorless killer. Last night, North Carolina received a major disaster declaration for the 25 counties and the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. That provides critical recovery resources, including individual assistance, which can assist impacted residents with funding for their immediate needs. Please continue to follow the North Carolina Emergency Management social media platforms and ncdps.gov/Helene, as more information will be issued on recovery resources in the very near future. Residents can also call 621-3362 for individual assistance information. For those that have asked to volunteer, we appreciate your desire to help. You can visit ncvoad.org/volunteer for more information. For general information, links to resources, and answers to frequently asked questions, please visit ncdps.gov/Halim. This website will continue to be updated with additional resources as we conclude response phase and move into the recovery phase. There are many North Carolinians who are tired, worried, and feeling the impacts of this significant event. To our friends and family in Western North Carolina, please know that all of North Carolina stands with you. We are stronger together and make for more resilient communities. Finally, I want to once again acknowledge those that have left their families and worked long hours in challenging conditions, responded to emergency calls for assistance, and have staffed emergency operations centers and incident command posts across the state to keep all North Carolinians safe. Thank you for what you do every day to protect the 10.8 million people that call this great state home. We are truly lucky to have such outstanding first responders and public safety professionals in North Carolina. Thank you.
So we'll now hear from Todd Hunt, Adjutant General of the North Carolina National Guard.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon. As was previously mentioned, North Carolina National Guard has increased to over 500 soldiers and airmen and over 200 vehicles. Our main